Alright, welcome to this video. Today we're looking at 5 reasons why you should not start your own business. Now, listen, before we get into this one, I'm absolutely behind you and all for it if you want to start your own business. I think it's really important to take a level-headed approach to these things. It's something you should take very seriously. But I will say, if you'd have told me this back when I was 19 years old and I started my first business and I wanted to open a gym, there is no way I would have listened to you because I was absolutely hell-bent on doing it anyway. So if that's you, you know what? It doesn't hurt to know what some of the concerns and risks and potential issues could be. But if you're still on the fence, then absolutely watch this video, take on the points, and then of course make an informed decision. Point number 1, uncertainty. When you've got a regular wage coming in, you know exactly what you're getting paid, you know when you are getting paid. Now there is also a risk associated to that. People lose their jobs all of the time, people get made redundant, people get put under lots of pressure. So, you know, that can change, it's not a guarantee. But when you are running your own business, the uncertainty exists at a much higher level. There is a greater level of risk and you must be willing to accept that risk. There is nowhere to hide when you're running your own business. And so there can often be moments of uncertainty. It is not guaranteed to work. There are many cases where people start a business, they give it a go and it doesn't work out. When we look at the Office for National Statistics, they actually say here that only 39.4% of UK businesses born in 2018 were still alive 5 years later. However, that does not take into consideration that there was a little bit of an issue going on around about that time, something called a global pandemic, which might have heavily impacted the amount of problems that those businesses would have had. I mean, everything's changed since then, really, hasn't it? So take that with a pinch of salt, but still, the point exists. It doesn't always work. There is a level of uncertainty that you do have to accept. Point number 2, the extra levels of responsibility. There are things that you need to do as a business owner that you wouldn't have ever done before. The way that you approach your tax is slightly different. You've got your corporation tax, you've got to do your company's accounts, you've got to make sure that if you've got employees, you take into consideration all of their employee rights, you've got to make sure you've got your PAYE, get all that done. You've also got your VAT. If you're VAT registered, this is something that you need to take into consideration. And you know what, I found that out the hard way because I was running a fitness business, and when I passed that VAT threshold, all of a sudden I needed to really adjust my prices. And it's difficult to charge somebody VAT as a sort of B2C arrangement, a customer coming to use a gym, when their gym membership costs so much, and then you're like, well, I've got to charge another sort of 20% now. It's difficult to explain why. So sometimes you have to really adjust your business model. I had to inflate the amount of members I had to really grow aggressively in order to bust through that little bit extra that you need to make a profit and still be able to pay your VAT bill. So there are all these extra things that you've got to think about, and usually the size of your business, the bigger it is, the more responsibilities you have, the more extra things you need to deal with and handle. And yeah, you can outsource things, you can have employees that take care of areas of your business, but as the business owner, you've always got to be able to keep your ear to the ground. You've always got to really know what's going on. You've got to have your finger on the pulse, because it comes back on you if something goes wrong. That doesn't even take into consideration the amount of time that you're going to need to put into this. Here's a shocking statistic here from purbeckinsurance.co.uk. 57% of SME decision makers, so top of the tree decision makers, work 41 to 70 hours a week. 41 to 70 hours. The lowest end of that scale is still more than the 36.5 average full-time job demands of a person. So you're going to need to put in more time, and it's quite rare to get to the point where you're a business owner and you have that sort of level of choice and freedom and flexibility to be able to work less hours and still benefit from all the great things about being in business. And even if you do get to that point, it can change overnight, and all of a sudden you've got to get your hands dirty and you're in there doing 70-hour weeks. So got to keep that in mind. However, I will say, as an optimist and someone who likes to encourage people to fulfill their dreams and go and get it in life, you can start small. And as I said before in a previous video, 5 reasons why you should start a business, You can start this on the side, keep the risk low, keep your employment hours coming in, keep your employment salary, and put some extra time that you're willing to work hard around the clock, put that time into the side hustle, into the business venture, and build it in the way that you wish to grow it. That's so important. A lot of businesses, and I've done this in the past, will start and they'll get bigger and they'll get busier and they'll grow, but the business owner hasn't thought about what they're going to do when that happens and how that might look and feel, and how to still keep other things that are important in their life, like having Saturdays free, or not working on a Monday evening when you've got kids clubs to take your kids to and you want to watch them do those clubs. These things need to be factored in, otherwise they will come and they will get taken away from you if you don't think about them in advance. So yeah, big one there. Make sure you pay it some attention. Now, point number 3, does it really bring you freedom? Now, in addition to everything else that I've shared, I'm going to read this out to you. This is a mad one. Check this out. According to IFA magazine, 76% of SME owners say they work during the school holidays, and 57% regularly exceed the UK's 36.5-hour week. So if you think about some of the reasons why you go into business, usually if you ask a business owner, it will be that they want to be their own boss, want to have a level of flexibility to be able to go on holiday and take some time off and spend time in different places that are not work, right? Yet 76% of the small to medium business owners here, according to this statistic, they work during the holidays. And I'm guessing that not all of them are doing that through choice. I'm guessing there's compromise going on there, and I'm guessing it's difficult for them to take the time off. Otherwise, why wouldn't they? So for me, the 24% that are getting it right, that are getting some time off in the holidays, are the ones that are planning for the future. They are the ones that are happy to share and delegate for long-term structure so that they can afford to take this time off. And they are the ones that are able to communicate clearly with their clients, customers and staff to make sure that that's okay. And actually, a little extra one, they're also the ones that don't hold guilt when they do take time off, and they're not someone who's like a massive control freak trying to do everything themselves to a standard which is unattainable by anyone else in the business. Those are usually the guys and girls that are making it work. From a self-employed perspective, if it's just you doing it, it's making sure your prices are able to cover that time off and that you say no. Because when you say no to something, you might just be saying yes to time off in the holidays. So keep that one in mind. It isn't easy and it's something that you need to navigate. Point number 4, being in business can be a very lonely place. Now, yes, it's busy and it's noisy and you can be experiencing lots of stuff in your day, when you're working in the hustle and you've got phone calls and emails and all that stuff. But the loneliness comes when dealing with your issues and challenges and problems. And I can tell you this firsthand. It can be really difficult when you're going through a tough time in business to then go and share that strain with somebody else, particularly with your closest friends and family. They will worry and they will be concerned and they will worry even more and they will add to your problem load rather than releasing some of that pressure. And that's not anything against the people that care about you. It's just that they're always going to see you in pain and you struggling and then just think, that isn't good, so we need to make that better. And it can be really difficult to know what to say and how to say it. Many business owners, they just won't burden their friends and family with the problem. Now, of course, it's difficult when you're supposed to be doing really well and you've taken a risk and you've gone out on your own and you're going into business. It's supposed to work, right? But the first sign of things going wrong, at the first sign of a struggle, at the first sign of what could be problematic times ahead, my advice would be to absolutely start sharing that detail. Because once you get through that initial shock and once you get through the sort of first wave of worry, a problem shared is always a problem halved. And if you're sharing it with someone who really cares about you and understands the reasons why you're doing it and believes in you, then it can be much easier to hold it. Now, this is a pretty shocking statistic, but according to UCL School of Management, 76% of UK startup founders report feeling lonely. And what's worse is that 93% show signs of mental health strain. That's in some research that they conducted with UK business founders. So, you know, it's tough because in life there are lots of distractions already, and there are lots of things that we can get worried about and feel stress. But when you're running your own business, you've all of a sudden got like a higher level, like you're in the game, right? And the stakes are higher. So you've got this higher level of concern and higher level of worry and risk, and things, when they go wrong, they can go real bad. And there can be a lot of problems, okay? So, got to be ready for that. And my best advice would be, keep your war room close. Your war room are the people that come in and they help you deal with a crisis. They are the people that you get together when you're up against it, and you can trust in them, you confide in them, and you actually say, listen, I want you to be part of my war room. If I'm going to go into business, there's going to be these times when I'm going to be up against it. I know that. Like, I'd be naive to think that it's always going to be great. Can I ask, when I'm in one of those situations, can I count on you to be in my war room? Here's what I want from you. I don't want you to have the answer necessarily. I don't want you to worry. We're going to figure it out. But I do need you to listen, and I do need you to think with me so that we can get the best out of me, because I know what I'm doing. I just might struggle sometimes, so that we can figure it out together, you know? So that's what I'd recommend. That's gold right there, by the way. I wish someone told me that when I started out. And number 5, you've got to really, really want it. And what I mean by that is, you know, you can have a great life and you can earn great money and you can have a lot of responsibility being a high level employee, being the second, third or fourth person that works at a startup and has a lot of involvement in some of the decision making, a lot of responsibility, gets paid good money, but doesn't hold all the pressure on their shoulders. There can be benefits in a partnership or a collaboration and having business partners that you work with to share the burden and not do it all on your own. But ultimately, this is about what you're willing to sacrifice, and you've got to really want it. In the same way as most lads, you know, me included, when you're growing up, when you're a kid, you're at primary school kicking the ball about, you want to be a professional football player. But you don't get to become a professional football player because not everybody gets to be that. It's the ones that are good enough and the ones that have the right attitude that eventually do make it as a professional, because you've got a lot of people that want it, but only a few that actually make it. And business should not be looked at in a different way. It should be looked at in a similar way. There is no entitlement. You do not get to just register your business and then automatically succeed. Yes, the barrier to entry is low in that regard, but so is the barrier of entry to play football. You just got to get a pair of boots and you've got to join a team. So we've got to be able to understand that to get good at this, we need to train, we need to practice, we need to learn, we need to have the right coaching, we need to have the right exposure to pressure, we need to be able to take on the challenges that we need at that moment in time for our progression in our career. And going from someone who gets a pair of boots on for the first time to someone that wins the Ballon d'Or, that's too much of a step, and that just doesn't happen. Right, so there is a case to be made that you've got to really want to grind it out. You've got to really want to do the hard yards, to work the extra hours, to put in all the extra time that you need to in order to get to where you want to get to. And it's so important to have that vision of where you want to go. Otherwise, you'll end up chaining yourself to your business, working all the hours under the sun, and you'll wonder what it was that you wanted from this in the first place, which in most cases is freedom of choice, flexibility of time to earn more money, be your own boss, and be able to create something that makes a difference and leaves a legacy. Now, if after watching this video, you still want to do it, then that's a great sign, by the way. But also, you know what? If you don't, that's also great, because this video has maybe helped you understand where you're at right now. That might change, and that's all good. But I did make another video which might be an interesting watch for you. That is 5 reasons why you should start your own business. Take both on board, that was always my intention, and then make a decision that's the right one for you right now. Thanks for watching. If you liked this sort of thing, give me your comments and questions. I'd love to be able to help you in a real level-headed way. I'll always talk from experience and I'll always keep it real in that regard. And if you want to subscribe to the channel for more of these videos, then do so by hitting the right buttons, and I'll see you in the next one.